deep. So for a shallower crustal event like this, it's going to be a bit closer to the surface, and therefore is going to have more impact on weak structures.
On weak structures which might collapse or pancake on themselves.
That's right. There's a lot of older construction, sort of post-World War II construction that still exists in Japan. While I'm not an engineer, I'm somewhat familiar with their construction. So newer buildings are much more seismically designed, whereas the older structures, particularly the Japanese style of heavy tile roofs on fairly weak wooden structures, that makes them top-heavy and therefore subject to collapse.
We've heard also that there has been a tsunami warning put out. The Japanese media reporting about a meter-high wave. What do you make of that?
Well, again, because of the type of earthquake that this is, it's really unlikely that it will generate a tsunami. Now, I'm not going to second-guess the Japanese Meteorological Agency. They know their country and they know their business. But it's the large subduction zone earthquakes that are the most likely to create large and damaging tsunamis. And typically, a more shallow crustal quake like this one would not typically generate a large tsunami.
We talk about this quake, 7.1 at the moment magnitude, the one that happened yesterday. There you can see it, images, devastating images coming from Japan. The one yesterday on Thursday evening Japanese time, late in the night, was 6.2. I know it's semantics on whether it's an earthquake or an aftershock, but how do two of these earthquakes back-to-back play out, and is this the main one?
Well, I'm certainly not going to predict that this is the main one, and you're right, it's a matter of semantics. The fact that the 6.0 of Thursday was followed by an even larger quake about a day later, we would then call the magnitude 6 a foreshock to the larger following earthquake. But, that's not to say that the Earth can't produce a bigger earthquake still to follow, although statistically it's more likely that this latest event will be followed by aftershocks, which are all smaller than the shock that just occurred.
Have you been to this region? Are you aware of this region, and in terms of these buildings, as you say, these older post-World War II construction make it very vulnerable to collapse. However, Japanese building codes do allow and insist on flexibility because of these sorts of circumstances.
That's right. Well, yeah, I've been to Japan a couple of times, not to this specific region, but I'm generally familiar with their mode of construction. Again, with the caution that I'm not an engineer. But like many areas of the world, it's a mix. It's newer construction that was built and designed with seismic safety in mind, mixed with the older construction that may have had some retrofit or maybe not, depending on the nuances of the local building codes. So there's always a variety of building stock available in an area, and they'll all respond quite differently.
Thanks so much, Doug Given. I might want to come back to you if you can just stay on the line. I do want to go to Tokyo, though, to Mike Fern, who has been giving us a sense of what's been reported on Japanese media. Any other updates, Mike?
No other updates so far. We're still seeing pictures of damaged, collapsed roofs, tiles shattered on the ground. No reports of the tsunami striking the southwest coast yet. No further warnings of aftershocks, and no other aftershocks since 1:25 in the morning our time.
Do we know about nuclear plants on Kyushu, and obviously there will be concern about them?
There are two nuclear plants on the island of Kyushu, the Sendai plant and the Genkai plant. No, neither of those was affected by the quake on Thursday. They're still looking into the situation after the current quake. Sendai is the only active nuclear plant in Japan at the moment. There's two nuclear reactors there which are online. These plants, though, are built to withstand very high levels of earthquakes. The main problem that Fukushima suffered was the tsunami that hit, which was a massive 20-meter high wave, whereas we're forecast only a 1 meter high wave coming in on the southwest coast. So the indications are that there may not be any serious problems, but obviously we can't be too sure with these things, so they are checking into that, and I'll bring you updates as soon as I get them.
Okay, so stand by. So I just want to reiterate for our audience.